Hey guys, it's MMA Vulture coming at you live with UFC Edmonton Moreno versus Albazi recap. And we're going to go ahead and jump right into it with the first battle of the night being Jamey-Lyn Horth versus Ivana Petrovic in what was a very close split decision. I honestly gave it to Ivana Petrovic. I thought that she controlled a little bit more of the fight. I thought she looked good in the striking. I thought she kind of squeaked it by 29-28. But the judges saw it differently. I could see how they saw it differently. I thought Ivana Petrovic looked good in the first two rounds. I could see how somebody gave round two to Jamey-Lyn Horth. But round three, Ivana Petrovic really didn't do enough. She was not throwing enough volume. She just wasn't really doing enough in that third round to secure that 29-28. We all knew it was a very, very close fight in that third round coming to the end, and Ivana just didn't do enough. Jamey-Lyn Horth looked good. I just feel like it was very, very close, in which Jamey-Lyn Horth, yes, it's in Canada. Obviously, she got the decision, and by no means do I think it was a 30-27 either. I don't think Jamey-Lyn Horth won that first round. I thought it was an obvious Ivana Petrovic first round. I thought second round was a little bit closer. I thought it was Petrovic, but I could see how it would be Horth due to the submission attempt. But nice takedowns on both sides. Maintained control of Jamey-Lyn Horth on Ivana Petrovic's side. She had a lot of control time. She was also landing shots with the control time, so it wasn't like she was just controlling her. She was landing some decent shots with the control time, but overall it was Jamey-Lyn Horth that did more damage. Looking back and going back and watching it, I think that she did more damage, and that's the reason I believe that she squeaked by at 29-28. By no means do I think it was 30-27. That judge needs to be penalized or something, because I don't know what the hell he was watching. I think it was a very close fight in which Jamey-Lyn Horth showed that she had the dog in her. That third round was piecing up Ivana. She looked good. She looked phenomenal. She wanted that win, and come that third round, she showed it. And Ivana Petrovic just didn't show it that third round, in which Jamey-Lyn Horth took a split decision win over her, and she looked phenomenal. I was on the underdog side of Ivana Petrovic. I thought for sure she would beat Jamey-Lyn Horth, but no. Jamey-Lyn Horth came out, outdogged her in the second and third round, and showed a good side of herself. And let's move along to the next bout, in which we had Chad Anheliger versus Cody Gibson. And in this one, Cody Gibson absolutely beat the shit out of Chad Anheliger. He was controlling him majority of the fight, landing some nice ground and pound. Chad Anheliger was trying to scramble as much as he could, but he could not get out of the grasp of Cody Gibson. Every time he tried to scramble, Cody Gibson would be right there to smother him, keep him down on the ground, overwhelm him, make him completely uncomfortable, and just pepper him with shots from top position, top control. Cody Gibson was just there tonight. Cody Gibson literally had it. There was no way Chad Anheliger was going to beat him. He looked completely dominant in this fight. Striking-wise, was playing to his strengths. Striking from the outside, Chad Anheliger wasn't really entering and exiting the pocket with ease. He was having trouble, like I said previously in my other video, that Cody Gibson was going to be able to maintain distance, keep Chad Anheliger at bay, which is exactly what he did in the grappling department. Showed that he can grapple really well, and just got the better of Chad Anheliger in every single department and looked phenomenal tonight. And he got the unanimous decision, 30-27. And let's move along to the next fight, in which was a weird one. It was Serhiy City getting the split decision win over Garrett Armfield, and I was on the Serhiy City route, but to be completely honest, I don't believe he won. I thought he was getting outstruck on the feet by Garrett Armfield. I thought Garrett Armfield also looked better in the grappling department. He was taking down Serhiy City. He kind of exposed Serhiy City's grappling work, and Garrett Armfield isn't even the greatest grappler. Garrett Armfield took down Serhiy City, was maintaining control of him, was peppering him with shots from above, was advancing positions. Garrett Armfield looked like the better fighter. I thought he was landing more damage as well, but Serhiy City ended up taking a split decision. It made no sense to me, in which if you guys saw the fight and saw the reaction at the end, you could see Sidey literally was completely confused. He did not think he won. He thought Garrett Armfield won, and so did we all. Like, I was on Sidey's side, but I completely thought Garrett Armfield won. I thought he did more damage. I thought he was outstriking Sidey. He was having the more effective shots. Not only that, out-grappling him and maintaining control of him on the ground. I get Sidey had multiple submission attempts, but again, they weren't really close. He wasn't locking up the legs in the guillotine to really lock that neck in. So it was very, very weird to see Sidey win. I thought Garrett Armfield win, but the judges saw it differently, in which Sidey got a 29-28 decision. I don't agree with that, but we were on the winning side of it. So good shit if you had Sidey. And let's move along to the heavyweight bout, in which Nascimento looked like complete shit. I mean, I'm just going to flat out put it like that. I was on the Nascimento route. I thought he was going to be able to pick apart Alexandr Romanov and find that knockout maybe. I did think that a little bit more grappling was going to be used in this, like I said, which is exactly what was the case. But it was actually Romanov coming in with the stellar grappling work, taking down Nascimento, landing some nice ground and pound. He was garnering a lot of control time on Nascimento. He was able to take down Nascimento with ease. Nascimento tried to get up, was having trouble getting back up to his feet. Alexandr Romanov just looked like the completely better fighter on the feet and in the grappling department. He exposed Nascimento's grappling work and looked good in doing so. Like I said, I was not on the Romanov route because he's very inconsistent. He's either very good or very bad. This time he was very good, in which he used that grappling ability of his to take full control of Nascimento, make him uncomfortable, overwhelm him, land some nice peppering shots from the top position, and get the unanimous 30-27 decision over Rodrigo Nascimento. And let's move along to the next bout, in which we have Jack Shore and my lock of the week being Youssef Zalal. And Youssef Zalal looked phenomenal. In that first round he came out, his striking looked crisp, clean. He looked like the better striker over Jack Shore. Jack Shore was having a couple moments, though, but Youssef Zalal started getting comfortable with the striking, started finding that range, started hitting Jack Shore, using those leg kicks of his as well. And then come second round, again, Youssef Zalal's looking good, but I feel like Jack Shore started to actually started to land in that second round, started to find his striking slightly. But then Youssef Zalal, again, started shining again, started piecing him up from the outside, and then we see them tie up, in which Youssef Zalal ends up getting the arm triangle submission on Jack Shore. And I was in awe. I really was. It was insane. It was absolutely insane after seeing him land the picture-perfect knee and then follow Jack Shore to the ground and get the arm triangle on Jack Shore. I honestly thought in that second round Jack Shore was kind of starting to come together, starting to find his striking, starting to look a little bit better in that second round. But then Youssef Zalal, towards the end of the second round, finds that picture-perfect knee, lands it flush on Jack Shore's chin, and then follows him up to the ground and finds that arm triangle submission to finish the fight. Absolute dog in Youssef Zalal. I was fucking hyped when that happened. The picture-perfect knee and then the arm triangle to finish it up. I was getting very worried because I felt like Jack Shore was kind of starting to find his striking, and I definitely did not want to see that third round. And Youssef Zalal agreed with me. He didn't want to see that third round either. Landed that picture-perfect knee, followed it up with a submission, and got the submission on Jack Shore and looked absolutely phenomenal in that fight. I'm hyped that my lock of the week came through in dominant fashion. And let's go ahead and move along to the next fight in Charles Jourdain versus Victor Henry. And I was fairly confident in Charles Jourdain. I like Charles Jourdain. He was coming down from 145 to 135, making a business decision, and he made the correct business decision. He looked phenomenal in this fight. Round one came, he looked like the slicker striker on the feet. His head movement was phenomenal. Victor Henry had a couple of moments taking down Charles Jourdain, garnering some control time. But ultimately, I feel like Charles Jourdain looked good on the feet. He was the slicker striker. Then comes second round. Again, Charles Jourdain looking like the slicker fighter. He had a submission attempt. and then eventually found the guillotine choke on Victor Henry in a phenomenal tie up of events where Charles Jourdain finds that guillotine choke because Victor Henry is trying to be a little bit too aggressive, and he knew Charles Jourdain had the neck, but he continued with what he was doing, putting him in more dangerous situation, which Charles Jourdain realized, took full control, grabbed that neck of Victor Henry, got that guillotine choke, and just fucking ram it. And he looked phenomenal. He looked absolutely phenomenal. Charles Jourdain, this is your weight class, and I'm excited to see his next fight, to be completely honest. This is the weight class that he needed to be in from the start, and now that he realized that, made the adjustment, he got the submission finish in dominant fashion, looks phenomenal. I'm excited. I really am. I really want to see him go up against a very, very good contender next. And let's move to the next fight, in which was Ayman Zahabi versus Pedro Munhoz. And Ayman Zahabi looked phenomenal. I mean, I called it at the start. Pedro Munhoz is coming to the later end of his career. He looked good, don't get me wrong. It's not like he looked terrible out there, but he was getting pieced up by Ayman Zahabi throughout every single round. I feel like Pedro Munhoz probably squeaked that last round by, but overall it was Ayman Zahabi. Striking looked very clean, crisp. He had the obvious striking advantage. Not only that, the speed advantage. He was very good at entering and exiting the pocket against Pedro Munhoz, just tagging him. Also using those body shots of his to mix it up, and he looked good in doing so. This was a straight war on the feet. Very, very, literally no grappling almost. As you guys can see, we had a couple of takedowns on both sides, but no takedowns actually landed. And no control time as well. So, as you guys can see, it was Ayman Zahabi getting the better of Pedro Munhoz. I feel like Pedro Munhoz should have used a little bit more grappling in this, but he didn't. And as you guys can see, Ayman Zahabi was the slicker striker on the feet. He was landing at will. He had a quick, stiff jab on Pedro Munhoz that was going to work, and he was just out-dogging Pedro Munhoz every single round. I could see how you give maybe the last round to Pedro Munhoz, but overall it was Ayman Zahabi absolutely destroying Pedro Munhoz on the feet. He got a nice unanimous decision, 30-27, 29-28. For a few judges, I think it was honestly 30-27. I thought he won every single round. But I could see how you give him the last round. And let's move along to the main card opener in Mike Malott and Trevin Giles. This was a great one again, in which Mike Malott took the unanimous decision and looked phenomenal doing so. But something I do want to touch up on is he was having a hard time actually landing on Trevin Giles at the beginning. He was having trouble finding his striking, but his kicks were the ultimate key factor here. His kicks are phenomenal. He had nice, snappy, low and high kicks. He was landing them to the body of Trevin Giles as well as to the calves. His leg kicks were ultimately the key, like I said, in which he took a unanimous decision over Trevin Giles. Trevin Giles had a couple moments of his own where he looked good in the striking department, but ultimately it was mainly Mike Malott being the slicker fighter. I thought Trevin Giles was doing good in the first round in the sense of landing a pretty good damage, I would say. His jab was mainly doing the work, but Mike Malott's kicks were just getting to Trevin Giles. He was more slick on the feet, just outlanding, outstriking Trevin Giles. Trevin Giles, I feel like, could have won this if he just put more volume on. I feel like he wasn't really putting enough volume. He was being too patient, too calculated of a fighter, which isn't bad, but there's got to be a little bit of a mixture. You can't just be too super patient, super calculated, and not take any dangerous opportunities and try and land something. Because he was just too patient. He wasn't throwing any strikes. He was a little bit gun shy, if you want to say, because I honestly don't understand why he was, because he was landing, and he was landing with power too. He had a nice stiff jab that was landing on Mike Malott. You could see his face was getting red. He was starting to welt up a little bit, but wasn't following it up after that jab, which was insane to me. He was landing nice jabs, but not following it up at all. in which Mike Malott was following up his kicks with some strikes, was landing some strikes, maybe not the cleanest strikes, but he was landing kicks, following up his kicks with his striking. His kick was ultimately his jab, to be completely honest, with Mike Malott. And he looked phenomenal doing so, taking the unanimous decision over Trevin Giles, and I loved seeing Mike Malott get that W. He was in my most confident picks, and he delivered. And let's move along to the next fight, in which we had Marc-Andre Barriault and Dustin Stoltzfus. And I had Marc-Andre Barriault in this one, but Dustin Stoltzfus came out like an absolute fucking animal, an absolute beast. Ended up knocking out Marc-Andre Barriault in his own fight. Marc-Andre Barriault thrives on a brawl. He thrives on a brawl. That's exactly what this fight was, but Dustin Stoltzfus came out on top. Insane. This is one of the most electrifying fights, electrifying knockouts of this card, for sure. It was fucking insane. Nobody saw Barriault getting knocked out in his own game by Dustin Stoltzfus. Dustin Stoltzfus landed a nice, clean punch that knocked out Barriault, catching the chin of him as they were pressured up against the fence, throwing back and forth at each other, going at it looked like a bar fight, to be completely honest. They were just slinging and banging, in which Dustin Stoltzfus landed a clean right that just clipped Barriault right on the chin and just dropped him. And then Dustin Stoltzfus also looked good in the grappling department in this fight as well, getting some control time on Marc-Andre Barriault, landing some nice ground and pound. But it was ultimately that nice right hand that clipped Marc-Andre Barriault, knocking him out, and it was clean. It was very, very clean, and I was very fucking surprised in Dustin Stoltzfus beating Marc-Andre Barriault in his own game. And let's move along to the next bout, in which it was Ariana Da Silva versus Jasmine Jasudavicius, and I loved this fight. I had Jasmine Jasudavicius, in which she looked phenomenal in this fight. She looked phenomenal throughout the entire fight, using that grappling of hers. As soon as she started using that grappling, you could see a clear difference between the two. Jasmine Jasudavicius took down Ariana Da Silva, was maintaining control of her, was advancing positions, landing some nice ground and pound. Also, some nice elbows, some nice rights, lefts. She was landing. Not only that, she was looking good on the feet. She was looking like the slicker fighter on the feet, landing some nice shots, some nice counter strikes from Jasudavicius on Da Silva, and looked good. Eventually, in the third round, she ended up finding a Darce choke on Ariana Da Silva, and it looked phenomenal. She locked it in and did not let go of it. We all knew that Jasudavicius, at least I knew, that Jasudavicius had the clear-cut grappling advantage. I've been saying it this whole week. I said it from the start. Even whenever she was supposed to first go against Ariana Lipski, I even called that she had the clear-cut grappling advantage. In this fight, you could see Ariana Da Silva was starting to find that striking and starting to look a little bit better in the striking realm, I'd say, than Jasudavicius. But then Jasudavicius found that range of hers, mixed in those takedowns, and started to look a lot better than Da Silva, and that's exactly what I saw coming. Jasudavicius with the clear-cut grappling advantage, taking over this fight and getting the better of Ariana Da Silva and finding the submission finish. I actually had over 2.5, and it just hit over 2.5 by like 20 seconds, 15 seconds, somewhere around there. And I was super happy. Jasudavicius looked phenomenal. She didn't let it go to the cards, which I'm kind of happy about. And the over 2.5 hit as well. Jasudavicius looked like an absolute dog. I knew that she had the clear-cut grappling advantage, and she showed that she did with the victory via Darce choke. And let's move along to the next fight, in which was another kind of weird one, because I thought Caio Machado did enough to beat Brendson Ribeiro. But I could kind of see how you could go with the Ribeiro route. I could see how he did maybe more damage in that first round than Caio Machado. Yes, Caio Machado was throwing more volume, but Brendson Ribeiro was landing the more damaging shots. So I guess I could see how Ribeiro won that. But I honestly had it for Caio Machado. I thought he did enough. I thought he was outlanding Brendson Ribeiro. Maybe not doing more damage, but he was outlanding him and definitely landing the cleaner strikes. I don't really understand how Brendson Ribeiro won, but looking back at it when I went to rewatch it, I guess I'm just a little bit biased because I thought Caio Machado for sure won. But I could see that Brendson Ribeiro in that first round definitely was landing the more damaging shots. He was also looking a little bit slicker. It was kind of hard for Machado to find that chin, but he still found the chin a couple of times in that first round. And then in the second round, I feel like Brendson Ribeiro was still not landing as much as Caio Machado. Caio Machado was looking slicker on the feet, landing some nice body shots, some nice leg calf kicks. Like, he was mixing it up everywhere. He wasn't just going for the headshots. He was mixing it up very, very well, in which I thought he was outlanding, out picking apart Brendson Ribeiro. But again, the judges saw it completely different and gave it to Brendson Ribeiro via split decision 29-28. I could see how maybe you give it to him for damage, but overall, I think it was Caio Machado. I think that he was outlanding, outstriking, and beating Brendson Ribeiro. And let's move along to the co-main event in Erin Blanchfield versus Rose Namajunas. And man, oh man, was I fucking pissed, man. Watching this, I was absolutely fucking pissed. Rose Namajunas comes out first round, looks absolutely fucking phenomenal, snubbing Erin Blanchfield's takedowns. She was looking slick on the feet, outstriking Erin Blanchfield, picking Erin Blanchfield apart, and it was Rose Namajunas looking like the old Rose Namajunas in her champion self. She was looking phenomenal. Second round, same thing, looking absolutely phenomenal, snubbing Erin Blanchfield's takedowns, getting a takedown of her own, actually, maintaining a little bit of control of her, landing at will, picking apart Erin Blanchfield, and just looking phenomenal in the first two rounds. I'm like, okay, Rose Namajunas has this in the fucking bag. Dog, Rose has got this. No. Come third round, Erin Blanchfield starts using that grappling ability of hers and actually takes down Rose and holds her down for basically the entire third round. The third round was an obvious Erin Blanchfield round where she literally just held Rose Namajunas down, barely even landing some shots. I do want to mention that. She didn't even land any shots, really. She was just mainly just holding her down, maintaining control of her, and just gathering that control time. Fourth round comes. Erin Blanchfield actually starting to look a lot better in the striking department than Rose Namajunas. Rose Namajunas starting to tire out and just not look like the previous two rounds in this fight. She looked slower. She looked flat, a little bit dull come this fourth round, and was getting picked apart by Erin Blanchfield on the feet. And in the grappling department, Erin Blanchfield was obviously starting to have success and continued that success, landing some nice takedowns, but Rose Namajunas getting up right away, having some control time in the clinch as well. But overall, it was Erin Blanchfield finding success in that striking, getting the better of Rose Namajunas, who looked tired and drained in that fourth round. And I was fucking pissed. I'm livid at this point. I'm like, Rose Namajunas is fucking selling. And it's 2-2 going into this fifth round. I'm like, what the fuck happened to Rose Namajunas? She just looked absolutely stellar these first two rounds. Then comes out the next two rounds. I get the third round. Grappling, obviously, she wasn't looking good in the grappling. But then in the fourth round, was starting to look flat, dull. Not like her tank was completely gone, just slower and just awful. Now come the fifth round, I'm like, okay, you know, maybe she saved a little bit of her energy for this fifth round. No, absolutely fucking not. Rose Namajunas made another big mistake in this fifth round that she was making in the third and fourth round. When Erin Blanchfield got these takedowns, it was because Rose Namajunas actually started the grappling tie-up. Like, Rose Namajunas was trying to grapple Erin Blanchfield, which made no sense at all. Every single time Rose started the grappling affair, Erin Blanchfield would end up taking over and using it to her best ability and finding the takedown on Rose Namajunas and garnering that control time. I don't know what the hell Rose Namajunas was doing, trying to clinch up with Erin Blanchfield, because obviously Erin Blanchfield had the obvious grappling advantage, so you don't want to be anywhere near the clinch or anywhere she can try and use to take you down easier. No, Rose Namajunas should have stayed at distance, maintained that distance, kept Erin Blanchfield at bay, picked her apart, but no. Rose Namajunas made a big mistake. That 5th round, tried to tie up again like she did in the 3rd and 4th round, and found herself at the bottom of Erin Blanchfield, in which Erin Blanchfield kept her down and just was peppering her with shots, advancing positions, looking like the better fighter come 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. Rose Namajunas completely sold, and we saw Erin Blanchfield take over and use that grappling ability of hers and get the better of Rose Namajunas in a unanimous decision, 48-47. I agree. Rose Namajunas, after that 2nd round, looked flat, dull, and just did not look the same. She was tired and drained. And let's move to the main event. If you guys haven't, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's throw it to the main event in Brandon Moreno versus Amir Albazi. And if you guys remember, the whole week I've been saying, Amir Albazi, I am not completely sold on him yet. Not sold on him at all. And I was correct. Brandon Moreno 3.0 came out and looked absolutely fucking dominant. Brandon Moreno 3.0 is coming back for that title. I want to see him go up against Pantoja or Kai Asakata. I need to see Brandon Moreno fight for the title next. He put on an absolutely fucking dominant performance against Amir Albazi, who was an up-and-coming star, who took a controversial win over Kai Kara-France, in which we saw Brandon Moreno absolutely piece him up on the feet. Brandon Moreno's combinations looked clean, crisp. He was landing at will on Amir Albazi. Albazi could not do anything to Brandon Moreno. Amir Albazi couldn't even gain the respect of Brandon Moreno. Brandon Moreno was constantly walking him down, constantly landing at will, constantly picking him apart, overwhelming him, and just looking like the complete dominant fighter. He was throwing some nice body shots, mixing in those body shots. It was just a completely different Brandon Moreno that was just locked in. You could see it from his walkout. I don't know if you guys were watching. You could see his face, his demeanor, everything. He was fucking locked in. He was ready to go to war with Amir Albazi. You could just see it in him. And he came out, put on an absolutely fucking dominant performance, snubbing a lot of Amir's takedowns. Not only that, when Amir did get him down to the ground, Brandon Moreno was scooting back, got out of Amir Albazi's grasp immediately. He looked phenomenal and was just the all-around better fighter against Amir Albazi, in which I told you guys from the complete start. I said this. I said Amir Albazi isn't the best. He took a controversial win in which I thought Kai Kara-France won, and probably many of you probably thought Kai Kara-France won as well. The only people that thought Amir Albazi won was probably the people that bet on Amir Albazi on this fight. And he got absolutely worked, and you saw exactly what happened to him. Brandon Moreno has always been up against the best fighter. Yes, he hasn't looked the greatest as of lately against Royval and Pantoja, but again, he took that break as needed, came back. Brandon Moreno 3.0 looked phenomenal in every aspect and got the better of Amir Albazi in a unanimous decision, 50-45. He absolutely dominated every single round. I don't give a fuck about that 49-46. Amir Albazi did not win a single round. He got absolutely dominated, outstruck, overwhelmed, and picked the fuck apart. And if you guys haven't, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace!